ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of NPU Weekly, the weekly webcast show that brings you up to date with all the news in the world of North Park University athletics. I am your host, Kevin Shepke, and for this next brief 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes, we'll be bringing you up to date on all the latest news in the world of North Park winter athletics, since we last left you on January 5th. Looking at the teams that were in action, both the men's and women's basketball teams have had 5 games and 4 games respectively over those past 2 weeks, and the North Park men's and women's track and field teams have been in action as well. And we will, along with the updates, all 3 teams, we will also have a slew of highlights for both men's and women's basketball. Looking at the first team on campus, that being the men's basketball team, Vikings, unfortunately, in their last 5 games, have had a 1-4 record. They are 0-3 in their CCIW games. As I said, we left you on January 5th. The Vikings lost a 67-60 decision to Carthage College on January 7th, then later went on to lose to Augustana by an 88-51 score on January 10th. They did come back on Monday, January 12th, to defeat Dayspring Bible College by a 98-44 score, probably one of the best games for the Vikings so far this season, but then unfortunately had a 88-82 setback to Wheaton on January 14th, and later wrapped that up this past Saturday with a 76-66 loss to Illinois Wesleyan University out in Bloomington. Looking at some of the individual stat performers so far for the Vikings, Juwan Henry currently leads the team with a 22.0 points per game average, as well as a 6.3 assists average, and he scored a season high 32 points against against Wheaton College back on January 14th. And as I said, we have a slew of highlights from the North Park men's basketball team, so let's go ahead and show those to you right now.
Between a pass and a shot. 6-0 Carthage, 17-19 to go. Juwan Henry drives the lane, finger roll is good. It's his own rebound, and it's tied up, and finally TJ Cobbs comes out of the scrum with the ball. 2-on-1 Vikings. Robinson from Cobbs. Completely dominating the boards here early. Cruz. And nice job by Hutchinson, stealing that ball while fronting the post. Henry's pull-up is good. Led the whole way. They lead by 6 here. And it's stolen by Lake. Lake with the layup off the glass and in. 33-29. 7 seconds left.
We're here live with head men's basketball coach Tom Slider. Vikings unfortunately coming off their second CCIW loss of the season, a 67-60 loss to Carthage. And Tom, just looking at the stat sheet here, what do you think is probably the biggest glaring stat, other than the final score, that sticks out at you that Vikings unfortunately could not get this victory tonight?
Well, I mean, really it's not on the stat sheet, Kevin, but it's the lack of effort. It's the lack of being ready to start the game. It's the lack of being able to start the second half. And so if you had to look at the stat sheet, it'd be more they out-rebounded us, but really we didn't dictate much of anything. And pretty disappointing. It's my job to get them ready for the next time, and it's kind of one of those where it's a head scratcher because we really haven't come out in any game this year like that. So it's pretty disheartening, and we didn't play with a lot of heart. We didn't play with a lot of effort. We didn't play with a lot of energy, and those are things you have to have. Carthage didn't do anything special other than play harder and execute a little better.
Talk about, I know it's tough to come up with a positive, but talk about what Jordan Robinson was able to do in his first game back after missing a few games. Double-double, 17 points, 11 rebounds.
Well, I mean, Jordan is an important part of our team, and he gives us an inside presence. I thought he rushed some things early, even though his stats were pretty good. It was noticeable to us that he'd been out a couple games, and I think people think sometimes you step right back on the court and you never lose the rhythm that you had, and that's the downer of that happening. Probably the most disappointing thing from a Jordan standpoint is he's an 84% free throw shooter. He went 1 for 6 from the free throw line, so those 5 points at the free throw line, getting beat by 7, could have really changed the whole complexion of the game. And it's not all on Jordan's shoulders by any stretch of the imagination, but you kind of learn to rely on the fact that they're going to go in, and they did today.
I know it's hard to pull a positive out of this, but looking at something possibly positive, what do you think is probably the biggest positive you guys can pull out of a game like this to look to rebound from it?
Well, I mean, the final margin was 7 points, and I thought we played pretty poorly. So, you know, if we can right the ship and understand how to play harder and get back to doing what we did earlier in the year to play the way that we did, then, you know, I think we should beat a team like Carthage, but we didn't tonight. So give them credit. They came in ready to play, and we were not.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much, Tom.
Juwan Henry on the wing, down low to Robinson. Robinson banks one home, and the Vikings lead 2-0. Rebounded by Cobbs. Vikings looking to run. Cobbs to Lake. Lake for three. Knocked it down. Closely guarded by Juwan Henry. Fontana picks up his dribble, and it's stolen. Nice job by Jordan Robinson. Gets ahead to Henry. Henry's finger roll won't go. Hutchinson. Second time's the charge for Hutchinson on the offensive glass. And here goes Cobbs. Biko for three. Can't get it to fall. Cobbs with the rebound. Cobbs puts it off the glass and in just before the buzzer. He's got 7 points on the evening. 73-25 Vikings. Ball is stolen by Cobbs, and he lays it in. Cameron Burnett, and now Wilson switches onto him. Stolen by Wilson. And Wilson is off to the races, off the glass and in. Michael Wilson with a career-high 8 points now tonight.
I said, yep, just a lot of exciting Vikings action. Unfortunately, they just unfortunately had a couple of losses there in their 5 games so far. Coming up, though, tomorrow night, the Vikings will be returning to action when they host Elmhurst College at 7 p.m. Please join us on the NPU Live channel as our play-by-play host, Greg Sager, will be bringing you all the live action, and we will also have live stats for that game as well. Moving on to other action, other sports on campus, the North Park women's basketball team has had 4 games since January 5th. All of those games being conference games, and they unfortunately have a 1-3 record. They ended up losing a close game, a 58-53 decision to Carthage College January 7th. Then unfortunately lost another close game to Augustana College on January 10th by a 58-54 score. However, the big highlight of the Vikings was they defeated number 12 nationally ranked Wheaton by a 62-48 score on January 14th. The Vikings, in their last 3 meetings against Wheaton, are 2-1 and 2-0 in the city of Chicago. So just an exciting time for the Vikings and what they were able to do against Wheaton College. And then unfortunately, though, but they ended up losing an 89-72 decision to Illinois Wesleyan this past Saturday out in Bloomington. As I said, we do have a highlight from the women's basketball team, that being the game that they had, the 62-48 victory over number 12 Wheaton College. So let's go ahead and show you that highlight right now. Amanda Crockett, Vikings coming off a solid victory, their first CCIW victory of the season, a 62-48 victory over Wheaton. And Amanda, I guess, I don't know where to begin here first. This is just an unbelievable victory for you guys. Talk a bit about what the girls were able to do in a victory like this.
It's a big win for us. You know, we've been down, we've been losing some close games, so it was good to see us to finally get that monkey off our back and break through and to play a good second half. We've been struggling in the second half this season, and we still got outscored in the second half, but at least it was only by 2 points. We had a big enough lead to win the game. And I really felt like tonight's game was won at the free throw line. We went to the line 28 times, you know, and I think they got to the line, I don't know if they even got there 9 times. So that was the difference in the game right there.
Do you think the biggest thing was this, that I know you were talking a little bit about how the girls kind of struggled in the first 3 games of the conference, couldn't hold on to the lead. Do you think that was just the biggest thing? They were able to stay poised and hold on to that lead and to hold on for the victory?
Yeah, I think so. I think our defense really stepped up in the second half. You know, and we were still able to get the ball inside in the second half, and that freed up our guard play a little bit. That was our game plan, to get the ball into our posts and get scoring in the paint.
Talking about what Liz Rayberger was able to do, 18 points, 10 and 10 at the free throw line. You guys finished 20-28 at the free throw line. Talking about what Liz was able to do.
She was able to drive and get to the basket and draw fouls on them. So and she shot 100% from the line. You can't ask for more than that.
Right. Thanks so much. So, yep, just a huge win for the Vikings. Now, as they will be returning to action tomorrow night as they travel to Elmhurst College to play the Blue Jays for a 7 p.m. game. We hope that you can join us. We'll be bringing video from that game from Elmhurst College as well as live stats for that game, so we hope that you can follow that game on our website as well. Looking at and I should probably mention as well, one of the biggest highlights for the Vikings so far in this women's basketball team is the play of junior forward Sully Roman. In her last 2 games, Roman is averaging 20 points and 8 rebounds with an 84% field goal percentage as well as an 80% free throw percentage. And she scored a career high 23 points against Illinois Wesleyan and shot a perfect 9-9 from the field. So Sully Roman is just doing an excellent job for the Vikings coming off the bench to provide the added boost that the Vikings need. And as I said, they return back to action tomorrow night when they host Elmhurst, or when they travel to Elmhurst College. Looking at the other sport on campus, that being the track and field teams, they had their first meet this past weekend, the Carthage College Private Invite out in Kenosha, Wisconsin on January 17th. Both teams finished 10th overall in the team standings, but there were a couple of North Park University all-time top 10 records broken on both the men's and women's sides. Looking at on the men's side, Saul Lopez now currently ranks 9th all-time in the mile as he had a time of 4 minutes, 42 seconds, 0.72 tenths of a second. And then Erasmus Elfgard is now 6th all-time in the pole vault as he had a vault of 3.85 meters in the Carthage College Invite. Looking on the women's side for the Vikings, Elena Gunnarsson is now 6th all-time in the North Park all-time top 10 list. In the long jump, she had a leap of 5.07 meters, and Rachel Corniff is now 3rd overall in the North Park all-time top 10 list as she had a shot put toss of 10.5 meters. Now the North Park men's and women's track teams, now they'll be going back to some practices before they will be back out on the road at the end of the month on January 30th when they travel to Trine University out in Angola, Indiana for their second meet of the season. Once again, we'd like to thank you for joining this edition of NPU Weekly. As I said, NPU Weekly will now be coming to you on a bi-weekly basis here now in the winter sports season as the basketball, men's and women's basketball teams will be wrapping up the season, as well as the track and field teams now will be moving from indoor to the outdoor season. And before you know it, we'll be talking more so about the baseball and softball teams that will be coming up as they will be starting their seasons in March. But another exciting piece of news that we would like to give to you on this edition of NPU Weekly: you can now follow all the live Viking action as it is happening via our Twitter feed. Now, as we are now on Twitter, as you can follow us at vikings.npu. And once again, that's vikings.npu, at vikingsnpu, all capital letters, NPU. So once again, this has been Kevin Shepke for another edition of NPU Weekly. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of NPU Weekly. And in the meantime, go Vikings!